So there's so many people that I get DMs and they say like, is it worth it to jump into storage now? Or, oh, is it too late? There's self-storage everywhere. Like, have I actually missed the boat? And so I always say like the best time to jump into storage is right now, right? It's when you actually find it. And so I could say very much myself that I got into storage 2021, right? Where a lot of people were jumping in prior to that. And so I'm so glad I did, because as soon as you get in, you're learning and you're taking the reps of understanding commercial real estate. And the people who actually get in and start taking the reps, underwriting deals and submitting offers, are going to buy their facility 10 times faster. So I want to give an example. So we had a student who is a firefighter. He is 45 years old. He jumped into the school and he was relentless. Like, he was very much like, bring him to buy a storage facility. And I'm like, yes, absolutely, right? Anyways, within 2 months, this gentleman like found a storage owner. He cold called every single week. On his 5th call, he called the owner and he's like, hey, would you consider an offer? And the owner's like, yes. And he said he froze, because he's like, oh gosh, what do I say now? But this is perfect. That's what I want my students to do, is they don't need to know steps A through Z. They need to know A and B, and then go bring back C, D, and all these other ones, and they're all gonna line up because you have you have a coach in the corner that's only 5 places above you. And so I always say, people are like, well, is it worth it? Yes, absolutely. Is it worth it to go out there and to learn these skill sets? And so this gentleman, 45 years old, got to tell his wife and his kids that he's finally financially free and that they're on the right path to financial freedom. And that is because in firefighting, every single year they're taking a little bit more away from their retirement. Every state's different, but that he was very nervous about that. And so this facility not only will give him cash flow every single month, it actually is going to double in value within 3 to 5 years. So the real question here, is it worth it to go out there and learn these skill sets if you can bring in $3,000 to $6,000 in cash flow every single month with 1 or 2 storage facilities? And so this gentleman bought 2 facilities for $600,000, and he put $25K in of his own money, and he got $100K from a captain in his station. And so what this is going to do is it will actually be worth about $842,000 in the next 4 years. And so is that worth it? Absolutely. I always say like 1 to 2 storage facilities can absolutely change your life. So right now it is buy time. And so it's less about being on the sidelines. And so most people for the past 2 years have actually had their pencils down and they're just watching, because they're very nervous to go out there and buy self-storage facilities, to buy commercial real estate, because the economy, people are unsure. Banks are unsure. There's so many things that are going on right now, that is when I tell my students to go buy, is that we want to make sure that we're buying at that buy time where people are unsure and they're going to wish they bought 3 years later. So the urgency, it's less about, especially in self-storage school, yes, you are learning, you're taking steps every single day, but it's the urgency to buy, the urgency to put an offer in and then see and get that conversation going. So I think there's a lot of educational programs out there and they get stuck in the, hey, I gotta be perfect, I gotta learn it all before I submit an offer. I always say, okay, we're taking bets on ourselves. We're jumping in fully. We want to start a negotiation. We want to start a conversation about price so that we can figure out the motivation and actually close that storage deal. So I always say, like, coming in commercial real estate, it's going to take grit, right? And so the 1% get to leverage larger asset classes in self-storage, in commercial and industrial. And so what that, I always say, grit looks like is learning and being able to stay focused and not wave the path when things get hard, right? There is a lot of jumps that you're gonna have to go through in order to not only find your first facility, fund it, and then actually go in there and close it and then operate it afterwards. And so it's really important to understand and be a good investor, and then also to be known as like, hey, there is always gonna be hardships in business, and then how do you create an opportunity to make it easier? And so the skill set I really think that helps people that differentiate from people who actually buy storage and people who do not buy storage is, number one, they understand like what is their big why, right? Like instant gratification is everywhere in our society. Amazon shows up, within 24 hours with what I need. We are constantly, reaping benefits and getting instant gratification. And so in residential real estate, for example, you can close a home within 15 to 30 days. In commercial real estate and self-storage, it can take you 90 days to close this facility. And so it really does take time. And the people who are saying, hey, I would rather juice and understand juicing a lemon to get lemonade are going to be the ones that actually reap the benefits, because it's skill sets that they add up along the way that helps them buy their first facility, which is sometimes can be the hardest, and then they're going to go do it again. And so one of our students who bought 2 facilities, he is jumping in and buying his third, and he's only 8 months into the self-storage school and the journey. And so it really is, people say life is about the journey, and that is very true. And it's very much, I always say the self-storage way is that we are adding skill sets. It's sometimes not always about buying the storage facility, but it's about becoming a good leader, and it's about becoming a good business owner. And so when that comes full circle to you, it feels less like pressure of I want to buy, and more about, wow, I have a whole lifetime to buy commercial real estate, which will then only change your life with cash flow, plus the appreciation to double or triple your net worth. I would tell myself, like, if I went back 5 years later and was like, hey, Bree, you can do X, I would say betting on yourself. And so that was something that I fully did. Like I put all my eggs in one basket. And there's a great book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. If you haven't read it, please read it. But my one thing was buy a storage facility. And I literally had like blockers on my eyes, like no shiny objects, just self-storage. I lived and breathed it while I was pregnant. But the things that I learned through that was just incredible. I found my 2 incredible business partners. We bought our facility in the worst time possible when the market was increasing, like interest rates, 2%. We were on an SBA bridge loan to an SBA product to buy our first facility. And it took us about 11 months to finally buy our facility. So I would say there is going to be many hoops, but making sure if you are partnering with the right people is really, really important. And then always, putting yourself and being able to ask really good questions. And then the third thing would be making sure that you're nourishing relationships before you need it. So it's like pouring your well, right? I think before you need it. And that's very, very true. It's planting seeds along the way, because you never know who has money and wants to invest in storage, or you never know who owns storage and is like, hey, I have a deal. And so I would say those are the 3 things that I wish I would have told myself. And I would have known, I'm like, okay, yeah, I have my back, and I know I'm going to buy a storage facility and continue to do that over and over again. It's built up skill sets to position yourself to buy your first facility. And once you buy that first facility, you understand so much more. Like the first facility, I always say, is the hardest, and it's the deal that you're going to remember the most. And once you buy that first one, because you just don't know, it's just like giving birth to a kid or becoming a parent for the first time. Like you don't know what you don't know. And that like anticipation makes people very nervous. And so once you buy that facility, you have now a better understanding, just like a second kid. It's going to be so much easier, right? And faster. And so I always say, like, making sure there's 2 things, like to find a good mentor and coach, and it's worth its weight in gold, because you get to ask really good questions. You get to learn from them and the risks to avoid. And then the third thing is, like, those are the people that normally have better lenders and bank people that they have as referrals, and they can really help you pull strings or go to bat for you when you really need it. The second thing that I would say is, being able to be relentless. And in order to close any type of real estate deal, houses, self-storage, you're going to jump through a lot of hoops, and being able to be persistent and be like, wow, I don't know what I don't know, and it's going to be hard, but I'm going to figure it out anyways. And so one of my favorite sayings is it's always Figureoutable. I can't remember the person that quotes that, but she's incredible. And I always say it is always Figureoutable. Like it's something If it's actually meant to be, you need to go towards that, right? You need to, even though it's uncomfortable inside, that means that it is worth pursuing. And so I think that's the two important pieces in order to become a good self-storage investor, a good real estate investor, is to get those two skill sets and to double down with those. Starting self-storage school actually kind of came by accident, really. And so when I got into self-storage, I was like talking to owners, I was negotiating, I was sending mailers, I had my deal analyzers. And so really self-storage, there wasn't a lot of education when I started, and it wasn't very good. And so people kept coming to me and being like, Bree, how did you negotiate a $3 million deal, seller financing with 0% interest? Or, hey, Bree, can I use your deal analyzer? Or, hey, how are you looking at this market? And so finally, because of that, self-storage school started, because I was like, hey, well, why not? If people are finding deals, if we're analyzing them together, if we're growing as a team, being able to find and buy deals, like that's a community that is stronger than well. And so self-storage school really came out of a need of wanting a community of students and also people where we can find deals together, we can partner together, and then we can grow. Especially as I start to kind of add to my portfolio, I'm in the trenches. I always tell my students, like, the differentiation is go find someone who's only 5 places above you, insert yourself, and then ask the right questions, right? And now your new standard is those 5 people that you surround yourself by. And it's only a matter of time before you buy your first facility, and then you become a leader and a business owner. And so right now, I'm very much passionate about wanting not only my students to become storage owners, but to become business owners, to become leaders in their community, become leaders within their family that get to teach their kiddos, their families' kids, their neighbors, like, how do you actually reap the benefits of creating your own money? And this is something that is so huge, especially now when we've got AI coming into the picture and a lot of different things. It's like, how do you create your own wealth by building a business where you solve problems? And that is self-storage, right? We're able to sell space. And so it's a very simple business, but it makes you a better leader, a better business owner, and a better leader, and a better family member. And I love being able to teach that and have a community of other people that are seeking that 1% in self-storage. I always like to say you have to start with a why. And I know this is what might sound fluffy, right? A lot of people are like, well, what's your goals and what's your why? And it really comes down to, like, how do you want to reverse engineer your life? So I owned a gym. I was a gym owner. I worked 70 hours a week. I worked on the off hours where people were coming back from their W-2, and it was so hard. I created my own busy business pretty much. And I was like, I'm never gonna do my gym business again. And so self-storage was very, very intentional. And it was because of one reason. It was, how can I own a business where I can remotely work, from my home to be with my daughter? How can I have slow mornings with her, and how can I actually pick her up at school and be present? And so from that, I was able to reverse engineer. And so self-storage is very simple. It's a simple business, right? We rent space. No toilets, no tenants, no employees, less issues and more cash flow. And it's so true. You can scale with self-storage. And so the goal here is to own 15 to 20 self-storage facilities in the next 5 to 6 years. And so you can do that from anywhere in the world. And I think that is what makes it so incredible, is that it's not like a hotel. It's not like an Airbnb where you have tenants coming in and they're constantly rotating. You have to clean sheets, you have to do customer service and hospitality, and you have to have really good reviews and all these crazy things, right? We have some of that because it's still a business. But in self-storage, it's like literally you rent out that space, they're in charge of sweeping it and keeping it clean and go dropping the lock off, and that's it. We don't even need to have an employee there present for a rental to actually rent out. So it's a very simple business model, and that's something that you can replicate over and over again with good systems. As you take the storage facility and you go plop it in a different market, right? And you go do it again, and you go do it again. In hotels or Airbnbs, it becomes a lot harder because demographics change, people's tastes change, and you really you have a hard time predicting what is occupancy gonna be like in this market? How much are people going to pay, right, for the value of that Airbnb versus self-storage, just a space, right? You're going to pay the amount of that market. So there's two very different pieces to this. And I think it's important to understand that self-storage gets to be simple and boring businesses get to be fun. And that's why I love owning self-storage. I think a big piece in owning business is understanding, like, what do you want your life to look like? And so reverse engineering it. And so I'm so excited about this, is I call my daughter the storage baby because she really changed my life. The joke in the family was like, is the storage facility gonna come first or is the baby gonna come first? And the storage facility came first, and then 6 weeks later I gave birth. So it was it happened very, very fast. But with this, I've been wanting to, like I always say, my big why is being an example of what's possible for my daughter and showing her that you can not only own a business, but you can also be a present mom, you can be a present family member, and you get to have it all, right? So I think that's important to me. And so one of the biggest things I'm excited to do is take my daughter. I wanna have teacher summers. Like, I want to take 6 to 8 weeks off in the summer so that we can travel to all 50 states before she turns 18. And so going in RVs and, traveling and taking her to the state parks or to the colleges and having that diversity so that she knows like what this world looks like as she takes her step out into being 18 and like finding her own way. But I think it's really important is like the life lessons that you learn in school, right, are great. And then there's life lessons that you teach, right, as a parent. And so especially if you own a business, you're able to teach in a different way of being like, hey, how do we create money and wealth? And then how do we get to have a lot of fun doing that? And so I think this is something that's really important to me is, it's not balance, because I think balance is how do I say this? I don't think balance actually exists. There are seasons where you work hard, and then there are seasons where you are very intentional with your time. And so this is something that I want to install like in my daughter, is that, you still have this grit to work hard, and you're going to have a season of working hard, but you also want to have that diversity where you get to lay off the brakes because you put the work in the forefront of that time. So I'm really excited to have teacher summers with her. We went to Wyoming last year for about 4 weeks and got to visit my dad, and we rode horses and hiked and took the ATV out, and of course, they do a lot of like hunting out there, so shooting. And so these are things that I want her to experience, is being able to, feel like she has freedom, where she can explore what she needs to and have value and creativity.